Welcome back to Gangs All here on New York Jets podcast from the New York Post. Emergency, emergency. Kaz thought he was done with me, but days later, we are back.
Ugh.
Kaz texted me, talk to you soon. And then when it happened, I said, well, soon has come. It's a couple days later. It has happened. Jake Brown here alongside Brian Costello, emergency episode. Because if you've been living under a rock, the Jets have fired offensive coordinator Mike LaFleur. Woody Johnson, the Johnson family must be listeners of the podcast as they listen to the fans. They listen to me, they make the move. They also fired everyone else. It's like, except on the defense, all defensive line coach, wide receiver coach,
No, the
offensive
defensive
line
line
coach.
coach left. The assistant, he's an assistant defensive line coach, very low in the totem pole left.
All right,
The
well,
only other guy
Miles
they,
Austin is
the only
gone, but
other,
he was
he's
gambling.
suspended.
So,
He's suspended. He's suspended, so they have to get somebody else. The only other person they fired was the offensive line coach.
and Rob Calabrese, the QB coach, is staying. Correct.
Yes,
That is
as of
interesting.
now. I mean, if the
As of
offensive
now.
coordinator comes in and wants to shake it up, I guess he can.
All right. Well, we'll go into options here, but first off, as we react to the firing, 2 seasons, we've talked about it. Mike LaFleur was not the source of all the Jets' problems. The QB situation was a debacle. The offensive line was hurt, older, backups. They were broken down as the season went on. The run game disappeared, Kaz. They lost their starter in Brees Hall after 7 games. Michael Carter regressed in his second season. They were giving a bulk of the carries to an undrafted rookie, hoping he gave them a spark. The offense disappeared the final 3 games, no touchdowns, which is almost impossible to do at the NFL level, even for the worst teams in the league. There had to be some accountability here. And you cannot fire the QB per se, but they're going to replace him. And we'll react to what Woody Johnson said, because he said they're going to spend money to get a quarterback. So, they're going to go from Zach Wilson and Mike White to a Jimmy G or a Derek Carr, Lamar Jackson, whoever it may be. You can fire a coach, and LaFleur had a close relationship with Saleh. I know this is obviously a tough decision for him. I'm sure ownership may have played a part. I assume that helped in him getting the job, the relationship he had with the LaFleur family. But for a new QB who probably had no business being here and being taken that high, it's a crappy spot to be in for LaFleur. I get it. He's in a no-win situation here, but this offense for 2 years has pretty much been almost dysfunctional. And coaching is one thing you can change, Kaz. Everyone wants to keep saying he's not the problem, and nobody with credentials is going to come here next year in a year that could be a lame duck year for the head coach, in a playoff or bust kind of year, despite Woody Johnson saying there's no mandate. But I think this team has pieces on offense. They have young talent and Garrett Wilson, and hopefully Brees Hall comes back okay. They have an owner who said he's going to spend on a quarterback. They have a couple receivers. They're going to improve the offensive line. If Mekhi Becton comes back, he's a big piece. It's a team that went from 4 to 7 wins. They're on the rise. And this is New York, and it's still an offensive coordinator job for the New York Jets. It's still, that could be a good thing. It could be a bad thing. No
When's the last
matter
time
how
that
you
was a
look
good
at it.
thing?
Yeah, it hasn't been a good thing for a while, but it's still an NFL offensive
Name me the
coordinator
last
job for a
offensive
rising
coordinator people
team.
were happy with.
Early on, maybe Brian Schottenheimer, but
No,
then that
no,
that
no.
that
They
may
ripped
have faded.
Schottenheimer got ripped to shreds the entire time he was here.
I
Right? Paul
just think
Hackett got ripped to shreds before he was here.
it is not as
Me, Dan Penny.
undesirable a job as many are making it out to be. I think they can only go up from here, Kaz. And I think if they could get a
They're
coach
just
with
gonna
some
get a
experience
retread.
play calling,
Yeah, a
they'll,
retread.
they'll work with a
They'll
veteran
get
quarterback and turn it around.
they'll get some retread that's been fired 5 times and come in. That's what this job will be. I don't think this job's appealing at all, Jake. No quarterback. Owners that have ownership that has a horrible reputation, and just added to that by doing this. And the coaches are probably all going to get fired next year. So I think it's a tough situation to find anyone who really is desirable coming here.
I think that's the doom and gloom outlook. And yes, there are people you can go that way. I think there's pieces, and they're going to get a quarterback. I know you're saying there's no quarterback. There's going to be an improvement at quarterback. It's happening. I mean, hopefully it's Lamar Jackson. Maybe it's Jimmy G. Maybe it's Derek Carr. But I don't. And listen, if it's a guy who has experience, he could look at it like, hey, if Salah's on the hot seat, I do a good job. Maybe I take over as the next head coach. Is there that outlook of it? If Frank Reich was like, I'll go here. If they fire Salah, maybe I'm his replacement.
I don't really think coaches think like that. Um, it's pretty tough to think you're going to replace your boss like that. So I don't think that'll be the case. I think they're going to have a hard time selling this job. to anyone who has options. Now look, there are a lot of coaches who do not have options, so they'll find somebody. But if you're talking about somebody who's going to be up for head coaching jobs, like Frank Reich is interviewing for head coaching jobs, or somebody who could be an offensive coordinator for someone like Frank Reich, right? If he gets a job, or if Sean Payton gets a job, those people aren't coming here. They're going to those places where they think they're going to get a few years on the job. And to me, Jake, the dysfunction has been gone for a little while from the organization, and it's back. It's back. Like, this was dysfunctional. The head coach didn't want to fire the coordinator. He was forced to fire the coordinator. So now the head coach is miserable here, and we're back to where they're not aligned anymore. And this is back to where we were with, Gase and Douglas, Gase and Maccagnan, Bowles and Maccagnan. Like, it's just, I'm not sure if it's Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh as much as ownership and the football operations, but this is not something Robert Saleh wanted to do. So I don't think this is going over well with him.
So you think Woody, when he said to you guys, no, in terms of input, I was not on the decision-making tree.
Yeah, I think
he was very much on the decision-making.
Yeah, yes, this was his decision. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. No, I mean, I agree. I know he's going to put that out there. Yeah. But Saleh didn't want to. Like I said, though, it's his friend. And my argument is maybe they just made the wrong decision in the first place. And you could argue there's some misalignment there with the owner and the head coach maybe making that decision. But they hired an offensive coordinator who's never done the role before for a brand new quarterback. So they were taking a risk in the first place here. And I argue it didn't work out. You move on.
But I think if you take that risk, you see it through. Like, I think you gave him 2 years. Like, you had to know it was going to take a little while for him to figure it out, especially with a new quarterback who did not perform well. So I think this decision making is so flawed. I think it's all about just finding a scapegoat because they lost the last 6 games and feeling the need. Someone had to pay. And so it was Mike LaFleur rather than actually evaluating the job he did.
Yeah. Well, listen, it makes for good debate. We could get our first take on. I agree partially, but I also think that you cannot be worse than what they were. The offense for 2 years sucked. No touchdowns, 3 games, 6-game losing streak. There has to be some accountability. And I think you have to look at the side of it can get better. It might not be the greatest replacement, whoever they get. And we'll talk in a minute about.
Well, it can get better, Jake, if they have a better quarterback. If they have a better quarterback, it would have gotten better with Mike LaFleur. Like, I'd argue Jeff Ulbrich didn't become a better coach in 8 months. Jeff Ulbrich got Sauce Gardner, DJ Reed, a healthy Carl Lawson, right? An improved Quinnen Williams having the season of his career. All of a sudden, Jeff Ulbrich looked like a better coach, didn't he? Right?
Everyone was screaming offense fire. Is different though.
How's it different? People were screaming fire Ulbrich last year. It's not different. It's all about players.
Yeah, but I think play calling offensively makes a difference.
Show me the coach who's a good play caller without any good players.
I'd have to do some research on that, but
yeah, because they don't exist. It's about players. It's about players. You guys, all you fans, completely overrate coaching so much. It's about players.
I think offensive play calling in the sport is so essential. And when there's no creativity, even when you don't, and I don't think they had a bunch of bums on offense. You made it like they have bums.
What does creativity? What does creativity mean? What does creativity mean?
Do some when the run game's not working out. Well, change it up. Do something different. I don't know. It was the same thing.
Not like the best offenses. It's not like creativity. It's just running a good offense.
Guys, you've been covering the Jets a dozen years. I don't think you've ever seen them go 3 games without a touchdown. No matter who the quarterback was. Like Kellen Clemens has scored touchdowns. Brooks Bollinger has scored touchdowns.
I think that was a fluky thing, though, Jake. I do. I think it was just a fluky thing. I mean, the offense wasn't good. I'm not arguing that. But, this offense, I don't know if this offense is worse than the 2020 offense, right? Which was dead last in the NFL, or the 2019 offense. Like, those offenses were terrible. The 2012 offense was terrible. I don't think this is particularly worse. I think, they had a ton of injuries on the offensive line. And it was a good offense when they had Breece Hall back there. Losing him killed the whole thing.
Yeah.
And Elijah Vera Tucker, I think, had a big factor too, but Breece Hall, the biggest factor.
I'm excited to see where this team goes. I think, as I had a couple of days to breathe, let the season go by, I think this move was for the best for the team. I know Salah's not going to be happy about it. So be it. This is the NFL. Guys lose their jobs. Now, they said LaFleur had options elsewhere. Was that a bunch of BS to just say they fired him? Like, they said he has opportunities elsewhere?
Yes. I'm sure he's going to get a job. Like, he's a good coach and he knows a lot of people in the league. So I'm sure he's going to get a job, but this idea that he had options to go somewhere is like ridiculous because he's going to be like a quarterbacks coach or something somewhere.
I
Or
was going
wide
to say he's
receivers
not going
coach.
to get an OC job.
No, he's not
right?
going to get an OC job. So yeah, that's just them, trying to say they didn't fire him.
Yeah, he's not going to get a better job than an NFL offense coordinator. He's not going to be
No,
a head coach anywhere,
no.
So that's listen. They put things out there, and you believe what you believe. What did Robert Saleh say? What did Woody Johnson say to you guys today that stood out to you?
Not much from Saleh. Woody, saying he's willing to spend if they come to him and say they want to get a quarterback, I thought was noteworthy. Woody said there's no playoff mandate, which he always says. Thought that was interesting. He agreed with LaFleur that they screwed up when they played Zach last year, which cracks me up because we asked 8,000 times why they didn't have a veteran backup quarterback, and they acted like we were idiots. And now they're all saying they should have had a veteran quarterback to start over him. So, that was pretty much it. I thought, Woody being on the record saying he's willing to spend money on a quarterback is interesting.
And I think that's what makes this job a little bit more desirable than people think. I think,
Yeah, but those guys are available for a reason, Jake. Patrick Mahomes isn't becoming available.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're talking about Derek Carr and Jimmy Garoppolo that are flawed quarterbacks, right? Or whoever is out there that is going to be flawed. People do not become free agents if they're not flawed players. If you're a
But
really good player, you don't become a free agent. I mean, the rare Peyton Manning circumstance happens where like a freaky thing like that, but pretty much it does. Or Tom Brady, it's very, very rare that something like that happens.
there's LJ out there. You were at the Knicks game Wednesday night. I'm not talking Larry Johnson. I'm talking Lamar Jackson.
I
And
mean, has
that's a
anyone
guy that
credible
takes the Jets.
said he's going to be available? Like,
I mean, he's going to be a free agent. He's
I
available
mean,
in
they can
terms of.
franchise tag him.
I don't know if he would be okay with that. I mean,
It doesn't matter if he's okay with it.
he
They
could
can
just
do it.
accept. Yeah, but
He has no choice. He has no choice.
Yeah.
They can put the franchise tag on him.
I don't see that going over very well with Lamar Jackson. He wants
Well,
to get paid.
they're not going to give a crap though.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
He has no choice in the matter.
Maybe. Yeah, but he's an option. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but all right. So potential replacements at offensive coordinator here as we go through the list. The top names: Frank Reich. You don't think that's going to happen? Colts head coach, 18-22. Chargers OC, Eagles OC. Won the Super Bowl with the Eagles when he was offensive coordinator. He's top of the list, but would you argue that one might be a pipe dream, guys?
Yes, I would. He's interviewing for head coaching jobs.
Yeah.
So
Cliff Kingsbury, Cardinals head coach, 19-22. Texas Tech head coach, 13-18. Any interest in Kingsbury, or do you think he's another guy that gets the head coaching job somewhere else?
No, I think he'll be a college coach, but he had an interview with the Jets for the head coaching job when Gase got it, and it was a disaster. So I don't think the Jets would be interested in bringing him back.
Darrell Bevel is a name that has come out. He was the QB coach this year for the Dolphins, Jaguars OC, Lions OC. He was a Seahawks OC where he won a Super Bowl, Vikings OC. He's been an offensive coordinator for a decade now. That's a guy with experience. A lot of people know him as the guy who called a pass at the 1 yard line in the Super Bowl, which isn't the great, but he did win a Super Bowl, to be fair. Does Darrell Bevel interest you? Because he's a guy that intrigues me a little bit. He has the experience.
I think he's a realistic candidate. I think that's who you're talking about. Like that, a retread that's been fired in 3 places. I think I think he's a realistic candidate.
All right, Darrell Bevel. Greg Olson, not the tight end. This one's intriguing because he was the Raiders OC 18-21 under Derek Carr. Maybe they package Olson and they get Carr as well, who gave his farewell letter to Raiders fans on social media. So he is definitely on the move. Does Greg Olson intrigue you? He was the Jags OC, Bucks OC, and most recently Raiders OC, and then this year was the Rams senior offensive assistant.
Yeah, another guy. I think he's realistic. I've heard the same names everybody's heard. Bevel, is a guy people talk about, but I don't think anyone really knows right now. It's too early. I think they're formulating their plan now, and they'll probably start putting feelers out over the weekend and talking to people, but I don't think they're in any rush, to get this done.
Is Nathaniel Hackett interesting to this team? I mean, Broncos HC worked with Aaron Rodgers as OC, Jags OC, Bills OC. He's been in the league a while. Is that an intriguing option or no?
I mean, there's a LaFleur connection, right? He worked for Matt LaFleur in Green Bay, so Saleh probably knows him. But yeah, I mean, boy, and then the Paul Hackett baggage comes in if you're taking Nathaniel Hackett on.
Yeah. Gary Kubiak is another guy.
I think Gary Kubiak is done. I don't think he's come. I think he's done.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I think if they were hiring some Greg Knapp type figure to come in and just kind of be an overseer, maybe he'd be interested in that. I don't think he has any interest in being an offensive coordinator anymore.
I think Bevel is towards the top of the list. Olsen is toward the top of the list. And, Reich is the pipe dream. So I see one of those three guys, maybe Hackett as a fourth, but I think he might get
But no one has any idea.
Yeah.
Let's make that clear. No one has any idea. Like the powers that be have that Robert Saleh has a list. He's not sharing that list with anyone at this moment.
What is the timeline? Like, do they pick the OC before they end up getting a quarterback, right? Like, it's going to happen before the Super Bowl, you think? Or I guess it depends who the coach would be.
Yeah, I would think it'd be the next few weeks, next couple of weeks. They would do it. It depends on what they're doing right now. Like if they're involved in one of the playoff teams, it might take a little bit longer. But if it's somebody who's available right now, they should be able to get it done pretty quickly.
All right. Well, we'll see in the next couple of weeks what happens. Kaz, you seem to be on the fence of this was a mistake and they should have kept LaFleur. I'll stick with my defense of I think it's the right move, had to hold someone accountable, and now we see what happens. I don't think the offense is going to get worse. I think it's only going to get better. And
it better not get worse. They're going to spend $30 million on a quarterback. It better get better. It would have gotten better with LaFleur though if you had a better quarterback. So this can't be. Oh, look how much better the offense is. Derek Carr threw for 6 touchdowns Sunday. Well, that's not the offense coordinator. That's because they have a better quarterback,
But I don't think you can confirm, better quarterback. LaFleur is going to have more success. You could argue that his play calling just sucks.
He would have more success with a better quarterback, though. You can't argue that.
Of course.
I'm not saying he had more success than whoever replaces him. You'll never know that. But he would have had more success than he had with Joe Flacco, Mike White, and Zach Wilson at quarterback if he gets a Pro Bowl level play from a quarterback player.
Yeah. And listen, you could contribute some of the bad quarterback play on him too. We're not in that room. We don't know. We don't know what the players thought of him. They spoke highly.
I know what the players thought of him. Yeah. I mean, some of them thought highly, some of them didn't. There was there was some griping about him as well. So
and listen, and I'm sure that factored in as well. Not everyone liked him. So on a bigger and better cause, another show, another coaching change. Robert Saleh will stay. For now, who knows, in a week or two if Woody Johnson changes his mind. And we'll be back next time for an emergency episode when they hire a new offensive coordinator. Until then, see you in a few weeks.
All right, man. See ya.
All righty. That says goodnight to episode 137 of Gangs All Here, a Jets podcast from the New York Post. Thanks to Andrew Hartz for helping me produce the show. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to the New York Post Sports YouTube. Like this video. Give us a thumbs up. Comment. Who do you want the Jets to go after as offensive coordinator? If you're listening to this audio version, subscribe wherever you get podcasts. Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Google, Amazon. Just search for Gangs All Here. Follow us on Twitter at Brian Kaz and at Jake Brown Radio. Well, until the Jets hire an offensive coordinator, that's when we'll see you next on another offseason emergency episode of Gangs All Here. And until then, thanks for listening to Gangs All Here. We'll talk to you soon.